The alarm on my wrist screamed at 4 in the morning, and my heart jumped before my eyes even opened. Something was wrong. I knew it before I understood it. There was no flower on the crate beside my bed. For 341 mornings, without a single miss, I had woken up to find a small blue flower waiting for me. Every single day, placed there by a creature I had raised since she was small enough to fit inside my jacket. That morning, the space was empty, and the alarm was not testing me. It was warning me. My name is Daniel. I live on the edge of a forest that nobody mapped properly, on a world that still has more questions than answers. 11 months ago, I found a baby dragon buried in the wreckage of a crashed transport. Her wing was bent, her scales were the color of dried blood mixed with ash, and she was too weak to even growl at me properly. I should have left her there. Instead, I carried her home, fed her from my own rations, and named her Ember. She grew fast, faster than anything should grow. Within months, she was the size of a large dog, then bigger, until she could glide from the roof of my cabin to the tree line without effort. She never spoke, not in words, but she understood me. And every morning, she left a flower by my bed, as if to say, "I was here, I watched over you, you are safe." That morning, there was no flower. There was only silence, and silence on this world is never a good sign. I grabbed my jacket and stepped outside. The air was heavy, thick with a smell I recognized instantly. Smoke, not from my own fire, which had gone cold hours ago, but from somewhere near the ridge, where the old quarry had collapsed years before I arrived. My chest tightened. That was where Ember picked her flowers every single day. I called her name into the darkness. Nothing answered. Not even the usual rustle of leaves that told me she was close by, watching, waiting to surprise me the way she always did. I ran toward the ridge without thinking twice, my boots slipping on wet stone, my breath coming out in short, sharp clouds. The forest at night is not a friendly place. Something large moved between the trees to my left, and I froze, my hand tightening around the only weapon I carried, a simple metal rod I used for clearing brush. Two pale eyes blinked at me from the shadows, low to the ground, watching without moving. I did not wait to find out what it was. I kept running. The ridge came into view, and my stomach dropped. Smoke was rising from a crack in the rocks, thin gray lines curling up into the night sky. This was not a natural fire. Someone, or something, had started it deliberately, and it was spreading fast toward the flowers, toward the narrow path Ember always used. I heard her before I saw her. A sharp, high sound, unlike anything she had ever made before. Not a growl, not a purr, but something closer to fear. I had never heard fear in her voice, not once in 11 months, and it hit me harder than the smoke filling my lungs. I found her trapped between two fallen slabs of rock, her injured wing caught under the weight of the stone, flames creeping closer with every second. She was pulling with everything she had, but the rock would not move, and the fire was not waiting for her to figure it out. I did not think. I ran straight into the smoke, my eyes burning, my throat closing up, and I threw my full weight against the slab pinning her wing. It did not move. The fire was close enough now that I could feel the heat pressing against my skin like a hand pushing me back. Ember thrashed, panic taking over, her tail knocking loose stones down around us. I planted my feet, screamed through the pain in my shoulder, and pushed again. This time the rock shifted, just enough. Ember pulled her wing free and stumbled backward, nearly knocking me down in the process. There was no time to check if she was hurt. The fire had reached the dry grass beside us, and it moved faster than I expected, faster than anything should move. I grabbed her by the base of her neck, something I had never done before, something she would normally never allow, and pulled her toward the path leading down from the ridge. She did not fight me. For the first time since I had known her, she let me lead completely, trusting me with a fear I could feel trembling through her whole body. We ran together, smoke chasing us down the slope, sparks landing on my jacket, my lungs screaming for clean air. Behind us, the fire found something else to burn, and the sound it made was like a low, angry roar, swallowing the quiet forest whole. We did not stop until we reached the stream near my cabin, the one place I knew fire could not follow easily. I dropped to my knees in the shallow water, pulling Ember down beside me, checking her wing with shaking hands. It was scraped, not broken. Painful, but not permanent. She pressed her head against my chest the same way she had done once before, during a different kind of dangerous night, and I felt her heartbeat slow down against mine. We sat there for a long time, watching orange light flicker against the dark sky above the ridge, listening to distant cracks as old trees gave way to the flames. I kept thinking about the flower she never had the chance to leave that morning, and how close I had come to never seeing another one again. When the sun finally rose, the fire had burned itself out against a wide stretch of bare rock, unable to reach the deeper parts of the forest where we lived. The ridge was scarred, black in places where blue flowers used to grow, but the danger had passed. Ember stood slowly, testing her wing, wincing but steady on her feet. I expected her to rest. Instead, she looked at me, then turned and limped toward what remained of the burned path, disappearing behind the smoking rocks before I could stop her. My heart sank again, worried the night was not finished testing us. Minutes passed before she returned, moving carefully, her injured wing held close to her body. In her mouth was something small and blue, one of the last flowers left untouched by the fire, growing stubbornly in a crack the flames had missed. She placed it on the ground beside me, the same way she always did, gentle and precise, as if nothing unusual had happened at all. I stared at it for a long moment, understanding for the first time how much effort had gone into every single morning before this one, and how much it had cost her to keep that promise, even after everything we had just survived. Later that day, a woman named Grace, who managed supplies at the outpost 2 hours south of my cabin, arrived to check on reports of smoke near the ridge. She found me sitting outside with a bandaged shoulder and a dragon curled protectively around my legs, refusing to move more than a few feet away from me. Grace had heard stories about Ember before, mostly rumors passed between traders who thought I was exaggerating. Seeing her for the first time, injured but alert, watching every movement Grace made with sharp, careful eyes, she understood immediately that the stories had not been exaggerated at all. I told her what happened, the fire, the trapped wing, the run through smoke and falling sparks. Grace listened without interrupting, her expression shifting from disbelief to something closer to respect. When I finished, she looked at Ember for a long time before speaking. She said that in all her years on this world, she had never heard of a wild creature choosing to protect a human the way Ember protected me, night after night, without any reward beyond food and shelter. She said loyalty like that usually only exists in stories, the kind people tell to make hard nights feel less lonely. I did not have a good answer for her. All I knew was that somewhere between finding a wounded baby dragon in the wreckage of a crashed transport and nearly losing her to a fire on a burning ridge, something had changed between us that neither of us could put into simple words. That evening, after Grace left with a promise to send help clearing the burned section of forest, I sat outside my cabin, watching the last light fade behind the trees. Ember settled beside me, her injured wing tucked carefully against her side, her eyes half closed but still alert, still watching the tree line out of habit. I thought about the 341 flowers that came before this one, and how easy it would have been to overlook their meaning if I had never woken up first. If I had never chased her through smoke and fire to understand exactly how much she had been protecting me all along. The next morning, I woke early, before the sun fully rose, half expecting silence again after everything that had happened. Instead, there was a flower waiting on the crate beside my bed, small and blue, slightly bent from the wind, but unmistakably there. I picked it up carefully and looked toward the corner of the room, where Ember lay watching me with quiet, steady eyes, her injured wing healing a little more each day. I did not need words to understand what she was telling me. She never had words to begin with. She only ever needed flowers. And the simple, stubborn act of showing up every single morning, no matter what stood in her way the night before.